As the current generation of consoles continues onward, I find that gamers are becoming more and more restless with it. Usually, we get a new console every 5 to 6 years, but this generation seems to be the exception. With Sony's PS3 now moving into its 7th year and the Xbox 360 now into its 8th, the cries for something new are getting louder and louder, and as a result, rumors are flying. At last year's E3, many were left feeling very disappointed when Sony and Microsoft didn't announce new machines, and as a result, speculation only increased. Nintendo, on the other hand, has launched the opening salvo of the 8th generation, releasing its WiiU this past November. How has the Big N fared with its new console 3 months in? Why are Sony and Microsoft dragging their feet? Are we getting anything new soon? Or are we simply that impatient? We give our thoughts on the state of the 8th generation right here on Downloadable Content. Welcome to Downloadable Content. I'm Brian, and with me we have Ron.
Hey, everyone.
Andy.
I'm back for round 2.
Yes, you are. And we have a newcomer to the madness that is Downloadable Content. We welcome Ryan.
Hello, everyone. This will be interesting.
And because this was requested by Ron before the episode started, which one of you is Mario and which one is Luigi?
I guess I qualify as Mario if Luigi's the younger one.
But do you have the belly to support that fact?
No, I look more like Luigi.
Then you're Luigi. Ryan is Mario.
God.
Actually, funny thing about with Mario and Luigi, when I go to college down at SUNY Delhi, a friend of mine in their apartment, they played Mario Party so much, it's like, oh my god.
Mario Party deserves a downloadable content all of its own, but that's for another downloadable content.
That's for another episode. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about the state of the 8th generation of consoles. As I just mentioned in the intro, this generation of consoles seems to be dragging its feet. It's going on a lot longer than we as gamers are accustomed to.
Well, with Sony, I can at least understand why, because with the PS3 is, well, first off, as I think if most people know, the PS2, which just recently got discontinued, was the best-selling unit of all time. The PS3 has been advertised as it can do everything, so how are you going to beat that? How are you going to go to PS4? And with the rumors we've been hearing about the PS4, and especially the nastiest one of them all, that's not even backwards compatible. Again, what the fuck, Sony?
Okay, so you're just going right into Sony. I like that. Yes.
I love Sony, but they're fucking me over.
Well, I think they're making a habit of fucking everyone over, quite frankly. If you remember up to the PS3's launch, PS3 came out in November of 2006 in the United States, 2 days before the original Wii. And if you remember, because I certainly do, Sony promised us the moon. That it would be fully backwards compatible with all PS2 and PS1 games. It could play DVDs, it can handle Blu-ray, you won't need to worry.
You don't need to upgrade it. You won't need to do anything else to it. This system will do everything you need it to do.
It'll be fully backwards compatible, which was my biggest thing, because I'm like, all right, well, if it's going to be fully backwards compatible, then I can get rid of my first generation PS2.
Right, and well, to be fair, on the PS3, the original PS3, and I forget exactly how many gigabytes it was, but the first one launched was backwards compatible. Then Sony's like, oh, or I don't know what happened, but everything after that, the 160 gig, which is what I have, that's the one that is not only the one that I believe 90% of people have, that's the one where Sony said fuck you, or at least began to say fuck you.
I think the original, if you do the original PS3, I think it's the 40 gig and the 80 gig hard drive versions. I think those are the only ones that are truly backwards compatible with PS1 and PS2. I believe the issue is that they ran into a ton of issues with emulating the PS1 for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but they seem to have a ton of issues with the emulation process of the PS1. But they had no problem.
Can't handle blocking graphics.
Yeah, apparently. But
well, also, haven't they done? Because I know with the PS3 that I have, it's like a similar version, and it's also 500 gig. Did they decide to say "fuck you"? But they say, "But you know what we'll do is we'll add more gigabytes to it." Well, do you think that would be a compromise?
I think that they added more gigs to the later versions, and then like the newer like iterations, because that was more so for installing games to the hard drive itself, and also the explosion of like downloadable games and from the PlayStation Network and Steam and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even so, I mean, it was having a lot of problems right out of the gate. Also, and you know, Sony was asking. There were two different flavors of the system at launch. One was $500, and the other was $600.
Yeah, and I think it was the one that was $600 that was backwards compatible. And like,
right, I remember that.
Even if you got the $500 version, asking your customers to pay $500 for a console is quite a hefty price tag.
Yeah, which is why I didn't get one at launch. Not only did I could not afford that. Also, I didn't want to be part of the well documented mobs and violence that accompanied that launch.
Ooh, yeah, that had to have been bad.
Walmart, as everyone kills each other, and it's not even on Black Friday.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shocker, but
and it's not even Black Friday anymore. No, it's like once you get done with Thanksgiving, screw the family, go and get your stuff.
Yes. So I think that instead of promising us the moon, I think Sony is probably a little bit gun shy in terms of announcing a new console, because they want to make sure that what they say when this console finally gets announced, whenever, is that they want to make sure they know exactly what they're talking about.
You know, that reminds me, the PS3 is the first time the US actually went onto the big network, right? Because although I believe that the PS2 had internet capabilities, it wasn't until the PS3 that the internet capability really came to fruition, right?
Well, it was also that you also had internet capability with the Xbox. You had Xbox Live a whole year before the for the PS3.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make here is then too, because everybody remembers the big fiasco with the PlayStation Network getting hacked. Sony probably doesn't want a round two of that.
Yes. Well, there's two issues really. One, Sony has said time and again that the PS2 and the PS3 are designed to be 10-year systems, and by and large, they've stuck to that credo, because the PS2 came out in 2000, then PS3 came out in 2006, but there's still games being released for the PS2. And like we just said in your intro, was the PS2 just got discontinued. So that was a good 10, 11 years for the PS2.
Yes.
And now we're on year 7 for the PS3, and quite frankly, I don't see any reason why Sony should be wanting to put out a PS4.
Right. The only reason they're probably doing that is because, we already had the WiiU out, and again, there's the rumor mill of the Xbox putting out the 720. So Sony's probably going to start thinking, oh no, we're falling behind in the 8th generation consoles. We've got to put something out, which, in my personal opinion, is quite unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, the reason there's that fear is because the Xbox 360 hardware is very much out of date.
Red Ring of Death, anyone?
Yeah, I mean, not just the Red Ring of Death. It's just the hardware in the system itself was out of date in 2000. Was starting to show its age in like 2009, 2010. I mean, this is 2013 now.
Okay, so Xbox has a legitimate reason to upgrade, but PS3 shouldn't have that same legitimate reason.
Yeah, there is no real reason right now for the PS3 to upgrade because, like, only now I feel, and like from what I've read on websites, is that only within the past year or two are developers really starting to get into the rhythm of developing games for the PS3 and getting it to work properly and trying to use that system to its full potential.
So you think that the PS3 is hitting its stride finally?
Yeah, like 2011, 2012, 2013. I think this is like the year of the PS3's like big years. I mean, granted, there's still issues with the PS3. For example, Skyrim. How the fuck, Bethesda, can you fuck up Skyrim on the PS3? But
I haven't played Skyrim myself. I'm actually going to do the crazy thing of playing Oblivion first, then go into Skyrim. But that's another story.
That's fine. No, like Bethesda, for all the praise and good it does, I don't see how they could have fucked up.
Right, and I understand that actually the one that has the best version of Skyrim is actually the PC.
Yeah, just because of the... Well, I mean, most people that play like an Oblivion or a Skyrim type game will say the PC version is going to be the best version just because of the ease of access of modability.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well, Andrew, didn't you say that, because I know with a lot of the games that I play, they use Unreal technology. Didn't you tell me that you thought that Unreal technology was kind of starting to dwindle a little bit when it comes to the quality of games?
Unreal technology is starting to get to the point. I think I read about it in a review with Dishonored, which also uses Unreal technology.
Yep.
And I believe that they said that Unreal technology was also starting to show its age, that it was becoming full of flaws. I don't remember the exact article or wording, but the point was that Unreal technology is starting to show its age, and something needs to be done about it, or something along those lines.
Yeah. The thing that Andy and Ryan are talking about is the Unreal Engine, which I believe came out in 2003, and that is Skyrim.
And it powers everything. Well, not everything, but the big games.
A lot of the big games use the Unreal Engine for its graphics and the things it can do. And really, by now, like, it is showing its age. Developers have pretty much reached the limit of what the engine can do. Unreal itself has said that they've already started working on an Unreal Engine 4. I remember that they even did a tech demo of it, and the tech demo itself, like the video they demoed, looked amazing. Like, we're talking
PS3 high-end graphics here, right?
I mean, the system itself that they demoed it on was like a $1,500 or $2,000 PC to run the thing.
Okay, so it's top-of-the-line PC then.
It's like a top-of-the-line PC, and they demoed it, and the game, I mean, the little demo video they had looked fantastic. If my memory serves, like, I would compare it mostly to like very high-end movie graphics.
Okay,
like,
I see what
you're to the point of it being like you won't, at first glance you would think that this is a real photo and not a digital reproduction.
Right. Okay, I see what you're talking about.
But the thing is that you need a $2,000 PC to run the thing.
Exactly. That's the trap you gotta be careful when you're seeing these demos. Is that E3, CES, all the big game conventions are designed to show off the best of the best. Therefore, they have the best technology. Suddenly, you get it at your home. You get it with your not high-def TV. Maybe you have a flat screen. I'm sure most people have a flat screen, but may not be high-def by this point. And suddenly, oh shit, where'd all that quality go? I mean, hell, even gameplay half the time tends to change from the demo. And
the article I remember reading, like, this was maybe 6 months ago, and they said, like, we're still working on the bugs. This is still very much in like an alpha or a beta phase. But their hope was that if they can work out the bugs and figure out how they can get it to run on like a $1,000 PC machine, then they think that they could feel comfortable in sending it off to developers.
Well, I think that was the sort of what you're talking about. I think is the same issue Nintendo had, which is why they stuck to their guns for so long with the original Wii. Because, as we all know, the resolution of the Wii is for a standard TV. It wasn't made with HDMI or HD graphics in mind, because Nintendo at the time felt that not everyone has an HD capable TV. We want our games to be able to play on regardless of whatever TV you own, that you don't need a high-end, very expensive, cost half your year's salary piece of equipment to own.
Yeah, I mean, which I'm fine with Nintendo doing that, but I think the issue was that I felt Nintendo thought that they did not have to worry about the HD generation, like the high definition TVs and things, occurring until like 2009 or 2010, when in actuality it happened in like 2007.
Yeah. I mean, that's what ultimately forced Nintendo, I think, largely to make the Wii U, because, I get the sense that, in a boardroom somewhere, Nintendo went, a lot of people have HD quality TVs. We need to drag ourselves in the 21st century. And everyone was just kind of like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that kind of sense, it's saying that the Wii U is actually more of a implication of coming up into this generation in terms of graphic display. Because even though the Wii itself was released with PS3 and 360, it's only now with the Wii U that they're actually getting, I guess you could say, getting into this current generation's display capabilities, I guess is the word you want to use.
So couldn't you in a sense say that the Wii U is kind of like dragging behind, because I know that the PS3 has HD TV quality and so does the 360. So wouldn't you say that kind of the Wii U is like dragging behind the other two?
The Wii was.
The Wii was. Yeah, Nintendo had to play catch up.
Yeah, Nintendo had to play catch up. Now, from what the review sites have said and the hardware checks have said, if you compare side by side, the Wii U is 1.5 times more powerful than the PS3. So they're kind of ahead at the moment in terms of raw power. So technically they are an 8th generation console, but we don't know what the specs are going to be for a 720 or a PS4. Like, we only can make assumptions based on how the previous generations have gone. But even then, right, the issue we're reaching is that we're reaching a physical limit. Like, quite literally, they cannot make the chips any smaller. They cannot make them run any faster because of just the laws of physics. You cannot make a chip, like, smaller than 22 nanometers. And, like, they're struggling to figure out how they can make the chips either smaller or faster.
Not to mention that you have cost to consider.
Yeah, and cost of production.
But
like some of the interesting things I remember seeing is like making the leap from a chipset to a crystal of some kind, because somehow a crystal algorithm can run more numbers, or leaping from a the binary to hexadecimal system for coding. But
well, I just had just been on my mind from the beginning of the podcast. I believe, first it was for the PS3 and now for the PS4. The first image I always think of when we're talking about these new upgrades is, Brian, you might remember this, is if you remember on the old Fantasy World forums, Fantasy World XD, I forget which version of it that was posted on, the user who went by the name of Chaos, everybody's favorite person, he posted the quote-unquote PS3, and it was this bunch of box of hardware wires, and it looks like this random thing of just a bunch of wires and all sorts of electronics, and the joke was, this is going to be the next generation console.
I seem to remember that vaguely.
That always made me laugh. Yes, this is going to be the next one, full of wires and electronics, and we don't know what the fuck it's going to do.
Well, that's kind of basically where we're at the moment. I mean, we started this discussion almost 20 minutes ago with backwards compatibility, and now we're on crystal coding. So
wow, that escalated quickly.
that did.
Oh yes.
So for those of you listening, I have to say, be prepared for a ton of nerd alert here. We go into very technical specifications.
You know, I thought that by listening to DLC in the first place, they would be prepared for nerd alert.
I'm just putting it out there. We don't usually delve too much into technical specifications of consoles or alleged technical specifications as the.
Well, to be honest, we've hit the wall with my knowledge of technical specifications and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just
I
going
don't go into that for a reason.
So, but you mentioned backwards compatibility, and I think steering all the way back to 20 minutes ago.
Going backwards again, compatibility. We don't know if it'll work.
We have no idea about backwards compatibility. I know that is something that Nintendo has really tried to make it plain that their consoles now always try to be backwards compatible with, at the very least, the console before it.
Right. I remember with I think the only one that has not been truly backwards compatible in Nintendo so far in terms of actual console is the GameCube, because it had a disc. But I could be wrong on that one.
Well, I think the first actual backwards compatible console, not talking about handheld, for Nintendo was probably the Wii. It could play GameCube games.
Yeah,
right.
The main reason why you don't see backwards compatibility being an issue until like within the past 15 years or so is because beforehand you always had cartridges, and you would always just use the cartridge, and you would just expect that you couldn't use a Nintendo cartridge in an SNES, or you couldn't use a Genesis cartridge on a Super Nintendo. But now that we had the issue of the media being used primarily through a disc, like those are generally supposed to be more universal than a cartridge. So that's where the issue of backwards compatibility came in.
Right. So, and now, because of that, and because and Sony then followed suit with the PlayStation 2, made it fully backwards compatible with PS1.
The first one, at least, because I own the Slim, and of course that one doesn't have backwards compatibility. The original PS2, though, I just want to put that there as an aside.
I didn't know that, actually, that the Slims were not backwards compatible with the PS1, so learned something new. And since I do not own the original Xbox, I am not sure if the 360 is fully backwards compatible with Xbox.
What I understand with 360 is that the biggest mainstream games are backwards compatible, but not everything is backwards compatible.
Yeah, I think if you take all of the Xbox library and try and play on the 360, I believe it ends up being like 65 to 75% of that library is backwards compatible with little to no issues, and like the remaining 25% is probably playable, but will have some noticeable bugs.
Okay, so as a result, we as gamers have come to pretty much expect partial, if not full, backwards compatibility.
And it's probably just because we as gamers think, well, how hard is it to make your newest console run the prior console's games? It's better hardware, should be able to run it just as easy, if not easier, right?
One would think.
Well, here's another interesting thing because I've noticed this with quite a few games. Another thing that a lot of gamers tend to want is to be able to play online, like multiplayer online against other people.
That's just recent, actually. At least, well, depending on the series franchise is what I should say. But some games, with the FPSs, you've always expected, like stuff with Halo, Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff. You've always expected to be able to go online because, I'm not sure about with Halo, but with Call of Duty, that was the original draw of Call of Duty. You play 5 hours in the campaign, which I guess in gamer time is like nothing. It's like 1 day tops. Although for me it's not, because I suck with first-person shooters. But that was the draw of Call of Duty. That you do the campaign, you spend your time there, and then you go and interact with everybody else. But with the other genres, it just seems to be catching up now. Like God of War, for instance, one of the biggest hack and slash series of all time, just with their supposedly the next game coming out for it, which I don't have all that much information on, is going to be multiplayer online.
Yeah, the concept of multiplayer has always been around because of, like, first off, the original, like, MMOs, EverQuest, and things like that. First-person shooters were always kind of intended to be multiplayer because the games themselves could only be so long, and that you would want interaction with another human being to get more out of it. It's only within like the past 3 or 4 years has multiplayer in other genres really been talked about because of it's just the advent of the system mainly. Yeah, and I guess fighting games too would also be under that inclusion of wanting to be multiplayer online.
Right, and I mean with Final, and as we were talking about at least on the podcast that I was on last with Final Fantasy, 11 was Final Fantasy's attempt into the MMO stuff, and then they retried 14, and well, we all know where that went. Yes, Brian had to get the obligatory laughing.
Sounds like it didn't do very well. I don't really know much on the Final Fantasy 14, honestly.
Nobody does, and that's how we're leaving it.
Yeah, that's it. Right now, it is just a pile of shit, and that's where it's gonna stay. So the rumors are flying now. The one rumor I see pretty regularly, and again because we have no clue, because we haven't heard a peep out of Sony or Microsoft, is the rumor that their next consoles will feature some sort of firmware to not allow the playing of used games.
Right, which is the whole backwards compatibility issue that I have a problem with, because
it's not just backwards compatibility; it's also an issue of DRM, because that's basically what it's going to end up being. For them to probably get away with having a firmware type thing, you're going to have to register your system with Sony under your name, and every time you enter a game, you're going to have to enter in probably a 26-digit character code password for your game, which locks it to that system specifically.
Well, here's I mean, obviously, Sony, Microsoft, all the big game companies have made no secret of the fact that they hate the used game market. They absolutely loathe it.
Well, which makes sense, I guess, on a certain level, because I've heard somewhere that when you play for used games, and I will be the first to admit here, all the games I usually buy, 90% of them are used games, because I'm sorry, I don't have the money to shell out $60 a game every single month for a new game that, it looks all pretty. I'm sorry, I just don't have that kind of money.
I honestly don't think that particular rumor will have any basis in actual fact, because like it or not, we have a very thriving used game market, and if you force people to on consoles that refuse to play used video games, I actually think that would do a lot more harm than good, because you're absolutely right. Not everyone has $60 or more to spend on every single new game. That's not how it works. And if you do end up making a console where it doesn't accept used games, or you have to pay some fee to be able to, quote, unlock or to be able to play a used game, I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of jailbroken consoles.
Yeah. I mean, they don't want to admit it because they don't make money from the used markets.
No, they don't. They make money on the first purchase.
And that's it. And they're looking to get money from the used game sale, and they're not going to get it because, well, I don't know about you guys, but I think most of the used game sale market is done mostly through GameStop now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like there may be like some other stores like that are a little smaller, like local chains, but I can't imagine there being a national store other than GameStop.
Yeah. Right, and I mean what I'm wondering about too is with the original first sale, where is most of that money? Why do they have to have such high prices? Let me give an example to tell you what I'm talking about. Because there are some games which sadly for the PS3 you can only get online. You have to go and buy the game online and download it, and you're paying like the price of a regular disc game, if I remember correctly here. So why is it such a high price in the first place? Is it because of the disc? Is it because of the game? I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. and I mean, not to say that like the used game market is like the best thing that happened to gaming. I mean, it's pretty good, but like GameStop, I don't know if you guys know, but like they can be kind of scummy sometimes.
A little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm being like conservative here. So like, I remember seeing like them saying that they'll buy like a brand new game, like
I
that
know what you're
released,
talking about now.
like they release like they'll like say for example Devil May Cry, like that just came out, right?
Ryan actually has the game and has been playing it.
Yeah, like
Yes, I do.
imagine like Ryan, you went to go after you beat it, like okay, I'm done with it. I'm not going to play it anymore. I'm going to sell it to get some of my money back. They'll buy it off you probably for $30 and then sell it again at 55.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of like college bookstores.
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
what I was just thinking.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing. But be that as it may, I still maintain that. I mean, you could also get used games through Amazon for.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that more gamers don't go through the slight effort of putting the game up on Amazon or eBay, just because comparatively speaking, you can probably get back. You can probably get it. Like, say for example, Ryan, you put Devil May Cry back up on eBay for $50, and even if you had to ship only inside the continental U.S., you probably pay $5 in shipping, so you make like $45.
Yeah, that part. Because I know GameStop, whenever I go to trade that stuff back in, like the last one I went to do in, because I went for Lollipop Chainsaw, I got like that for like $30. I only got like $4 back for it for stuff.
Yeah, and they're gonna slap a sticker on it for 25 or 30 probably.
Yep.
So, I don't. Even though I've seen that rumor a lot that Sony and Microsoft's new consoles won't allow used games. I think I really think that that's a rumor that is just that, because you're risking a lot of people, that buy the system immediately going to jailbreak it, so that hackers are a tenacious bunch. They will find it.
Yeah, like I mean, it took hackers a fair bit of time to finally jailbreak the PS3, but they did do it, and that was another reason probably why they didn't was simply because of the fact that the majority of the games that were on the PS3 could also be on the 360 or PC.
Right.
If you lock a system so they can't play a used game, I would put the over under on a month that the hackers, before they could jailbreak it to allow a used game to be played on.
Right, and the closest thing anyone can attempt to do against jailbreaking is the fact that they say, "Oh, you you did this to your PC. I'm sorry, if something goes wrong with it. We're not fixing it for you now." And how often is that going to happen? Granted, it does happen. I've seen it around, but I know people who can fix any hardware problem that happens with these systems.
Yeah, I mean, not the one shit. Like the hack could be a hardware hack. It could be a software hack. Knowing hackers, they'll probably do the hardware hack first and then do the software hack.
Right, and I mean, I think the one that's got the most infamous hardware issue is the Xbox with its red ring of death. But even that, I understand, there's a lot of ways around.
Yeah.
So that puts that to bed. I don't think the consoles will come equipped with not being able to play used games, because I would think that Sony and Microsoft would want to keep their customers, not alienate them, and pander only to the people who could afford $60 or more for every new game that comes out. So
Yeah.
the other rumors that keep flying are release dates. We don't even have... I'm looking at 3 different articles right now talking about the PS4, if it's even called that. And I've got 3 different release dates. One in spring, one in summer, and one around the holidays.
For this year?
Yeah!
For this
no way
year?
that's
What
happening.
the fuck?
There's hell no way that's happening.
Yeah.
Hell no way.
Of those 3 rumors, the only one that's slightly believable is the holiday one.
Right, because they're going to try and cash in on that one. And
yeah, like there's no way in hell that I can see Sony being like before E3, even before E3 occurs. There's no way I can see Sony going, here's a press conference, here's the PS4, it's being released on March 31st, and the press conference is March 29th.
Yeah, no.
Remind me when E3 actually occurs, because I always forget.
Mid-May? I think.
Well, I will let you know what the dates are for this upcoming E3.
Because speaking of E3, I remember hearing that supposedly Microsoft is doing a press conference 2 days before E3 starts.
Ron, for everyone's information, E3 2013 is going to be in mid-June.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so that may be where the summer rumor's coming from.
I mean, that may be where the rumor was coming from, but I could see them announcing the PS4.
Right, announcing, but releasing, no.
Considering that usually from the time it's initially announced to when it's released is at least a year. At least.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. This is just me being
give people
theoretical.
Time to salivate over it, for crying out loud.
Yeah. This is me being theoretical. I could see Microsoft going, "Here's the Xbox 720." Like assuming that the rumor that they're having a press conference before E3 is true. At that press conference, they go, "Here's the 720." At E3, our entire 90 minutes is just going to be showing off games on the 720. And then they end the E3 demonstration with a release date of the 720 being like in November of this year. I could see that happening.
Right, because as we discussed earlier, the Xbox desperately needs that upgrade.
Yeah, and from what like industry people have been saying and rumors upon rumors have been saying, developers have been starting to toy around with next-gen consoles for the past 9 months or so. Basically, since last year's E3, they've been kind of toying around with next-gen consoles and guesstimating on the hardware for it. I mean, because a couple of the games that we saw demoed at last year's E3, mainly Watch Dogs and Star Wars 1313, like those are the games that like we saw, like those look graphically fantastic, but we don't know if they're going to run this generation's consoles. They could probably run the PS3, but people are suspecting that they might just be launch titles for the next gen consoles.
Right, and I mean, the thing too, before we even get a PS4, the thing that I am holding out hope against hope for is before we go to the PS4, the PS3, again, we're mentioning that it's supposed to be a 10-year span, and I'm horrible with release dates. Remind me what the release date for the PS3 was. November of which year again?
PS3 came out November 17, 2006. That was 2 days before the Wii launched.
Right, okay. So that's what I was thinking. I was thinking PS2 for some reason.
Yeah, so we're on the 7th year.
But, yeah, so it's only been 7 years, and it's supposed to be a 10-year. So we still got 3 more years to go before we should, in theory, even be expecting a PS4. And I guess the only reason why they're pushing PS4, as I'll mention here, is to keep up with competition between Nintendo and Microsoft. But Nintendo and Microsoft both had legitimate reasons to go and put out another console. Sony does not have that same excuse other than to try and stay in the market with, the bright, shiny toy.
Yeah, and, Microsoft, again, same thing. I mean, release dates are all over the map. And, because nothing has been announced. So we continue with the wild speculation. I remember this leading up to last year's E3, where the rumors were like, Sony's going to announce the new console, Microsoft's going to announce a new console. Neither one did, and everyone just kind of had that wah, wah, wah sort of...
Yeah. First, the only one that announced a console was the Nintendo, and that was just something that we knew about already.
Yeah, we already knew about the Wii U, so...
Yeah, I mean... The speculation, I feel, is just... It's just widely unneeded just because of... I feel like gamers don't really understand how technology works sometimes.
Right. I'm personally just thinking to myself, the big problem with gamers And I mean, this is why things like Final Fantasy 13 were really big expected. Not just because of the Final Fantasy brand on it, but let's be honest, gamers like their nice, shiny new toys.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they like paying and overpaying for shiny new toys, but most gamers are just used to that old cycle of getting a new console every 5-6 years. Well,
Right.
6 years. I mean, let's look at the cycle from the original Nintendo up until the PS2 and the PS3. Like every 5 and 6 years, you had large leaps in technology from a hardware level that would justify having a new console for those within that time frame.
Right, and at this point, the only thing that we're seeing in terms of any really big, gigantic hardware leap, the closest thing to that is all the upgrades, you know, the iPhone, the iPad, you know, all the Apple products, and even those aren't all that, they're not really all that giant of leaps, they're more like little baby steps. But
yeah, like, the more steps that we're seeing within the past 2 or 3 years are just like iterations on technology that already exists. We're not really seeing the new leaps and bounds that we used to see.
One thing that gamers would probably end up asking about if we did get these new consoles, 'cause I know, like they said, the Xbox does desperately need it. What kind of features could they offer that could actually make us really want to go? Because I know the PS3 you can play Blu-ray, you can do streaming stuff like that. Xbox 360, I'm not as sure on what you could do for feature-wise, but I know that gamers will want a ton of features with these new consoles if they do end up coming out.
I mean, the main thing that I see that the new console will need to have is they're going to need to have an Xbox Live type network. Like, you need to be able to talk with your friends online through the console, and it needs to be a very good audio connection.
right.
I mean, even the possibility of a webcam interaction. That way, you could like even use the console as like a Skype setup too with friends.
Well, you already have Connect.
Yeah, I mean, you have a Connect that can do that, but like having that functionality be out of the box or included in the box of the next gen consoles which I think will need to be required. I really feel like you're going to need the compatibility with the previous generation's games at least. You're going to need to have a fairly large hard drive if you're going to have any sort of Steam support or like Xbox Live Arcade or PlayStation Network Arcade room for all the new games for the consoles.
Right. Oh, and I was just reminded too of this. You know, we've discussed why do we have to upgrade and why the Xbox has to upgrade. But if I remember correctly, we had those big jumps again, like with the 360 and the PS3, because we had Blu-ray introduced, which the original Xbox could not play, and obviously the PS2 cannot play. And we don't have anything beyond Blu-ray at the moment. So technically, other than the Xbox 360 having its issues that need to be fixed, there's no real technological reason for there to actually be another thing, at least for Sony.
I mean, probably the only noticeable technological leap in the past 3 or 4 years is that storage space has gotten larger, while the size itself, it really hasn't. Like, if you tried to buy say for example, you tried to buy a 1 terabyte hard drive in 2009, that probably cost you $400 or $500. Now you can get one for $100
or less.
Or less.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the explosion in terms of like the USB sticks and little flash drives and SD cards. I could see games being released not on a disc but on an SD card.
Well, you know,
yeah.
I heard at one point that, you know, in terms of music, you know, that supposedly CDs were gonna die and we would have these MP3 sticks that would go out. But you know, CDs are still very much alive and doing very well. So even though I could see the USB or those kind of devices, games being put on them, I still think that the discs would still be the more prevalent one.
The main reason why slight tangent here, like the main reason why you still see CDs being used for music and not being an MP3 stick or an SD card is mainly due to two things. One, it's an easier thing to track in terms of sales for the record labels, and two, if you have an MP3 file on a SD card, it promotes pirating.
Okay, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I guess that would be part of the reason why you wouldn't want to have the games on an SD card or USB stick. But you could always lock the USB stick so that it only works or reads on that particular not on your individual console, but just the console in general. Say, for example, Medal of Call of Duty 5 billion comes out on the PS4 and it's on an SD stick. Well, it only will read on a PS4. It won't read in a regular SD slot for a PC.
All right.
Right.
So on our second half, we will continue this very spirited debate, very spirited discussion about our next-gen rumors. We'll talk about all the rumors flying around in terms of not just release date, which we've touched on, but also what the hell these consoles might even sell for.
Oh my god! I don't even want to think about that.
Phones, anyone?
When they mysteriously appear. And we will also discuss the first 8th generation console, the Nintendo Wii U. It's been out now for 3 months. How's it doing? We'll discuss that on this second half of Downloadable Content. We'll be back. Welcome back to Downloadable Content, now in our second half, talking about the state of the 8th generation. The Wallace brothers and Ron are still here. They haven't gone bankrupt speculating about consoles, putting their money into a pile of nowhere. So we continue on with the very spirited discussion we had in the first half. We're going to now talk about other rumors flying around the alleged consoles. Price.
Boy.
The collective.
Wow, that was just a really oh dear Lord moment.
I mean, I think really the big fear with the price is like the PS3 at launch was $500 for the bad version. The 360 is memory serves.
I like how he puts that.
At launch.
500 and 600, yes. Oh.
Yeah, and then the 360 at launch was like, wasn't it 400 with the hard drive, 300 without?
Yeah.
And it quickly became a realization that, oh, you actually need the hard drive, so you're going to have to spend $100 anyway.
Oops.
Right. And then how much was the original Wii at original launch?
$250.
It actually was fairly affordable, and it stayed at $250 for the longest time.
I think that the Wii, before the Wii U came out, I still saw a lot of the Wii still at $250, maybe $230, but it's been the most consistent.
Generally, the Wii stayed at that $250. Sometimes it dropped it to $199 during the holidays, just because it's the holiday season.
I think it's going like, is it that or the Nintendo DS I've seen during the holiday season go down to like $119?
The DS I know was originally $169.
Yeah,
and then dropped to $139. Then during the holidays, it would drop as low as $120 or even $100 even.
So this is Nintendo saying, guess what? We're there. We're always going to be your friend. Whereas Sony and Microsoft are a different story.
Well, the Wii U is $350,
which is still not bad.
Hold on, because the regular Wii is normally $200. It's on Amazon right now, new for $165.
Well, that's online too, which is another story as well.
Yes, and the Wii U. Hold on. I think the Wii U at launch was there because there were two flavors of that too.
Yeah, you had the basic version, and then you had the deluxe version, and the difference between the basic and the deluxe was the deluxe came with some more cables, maybe a game.
And then the difference between the two of them, your basic was $300, your deluxe was $350.
Okay.
Which is still not too bad overall.
The deluxe bundle added a Nintendo Network Premium subscription, 32 gigs of console storage, a sensor bar, and the Nintendo Land game, as well as stands for the console and the controller. So, Nintendo broke the $300 plane for the first time. And so while that's going on, and it is that the speculation for the price point for the mysterious as yet to be revealed consoles puts everyone's predicting somewhere around $350 to $400.
For which? The 720?
Both.
For what? So it would be cheaper than the original releases? I mean, it's possible that they both learn from that, but that's like, the hell?
Keep in mind, these are rumors.
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, I was about to say, to quote that, when we had the governor debate from New York, I was going to say, the price of these new consoles is going to be too damn high.
The new consoles, I could
whenever they materialize.
Yeah, whenever they materialize. I could maybe see the 720 being $400. Assuming that they keep in line with Microsoft being a cheap bastard and paying for like lowest quality parts. I can't see Sony putting out a console that's less than $400.
Neither can I.
I more likely I'm expecting Sony's console to be $500.
Yeah, that's something more reasonable. And then after it's been out for a year, then it starts dropping in price. But only after it's been out for a year. And I mean,
that'll depend on how well it sells. I mean, look what the 3DS did. Nintendo had to price drop that pretty drastically after 5 months.
Okay, I admit I didn't keep up with the price stuff on that, but what was the original price launch for the 3DS?
$250.
Yeah, it was up there.
It was $250, and then they had to drop it to under $200 because no one was buying it.
Well,
I wonder why.
I think the issue wasn't that anyone was buying it. It was the fact that there were no games that were wanted on the 3DS.
There were no games at the time. For the first
Well,
5 or 6 months of the 3DS, it was just ports. The fact that, I would like to think that Sony and Microsoft, especially Sony, learned of, well, I don't know if people have $600 to burn, but maybe we should try lowering the cost of our system. The problem is this, and this is true for Sony and Microsoft only, not Nintendo. Sony and Microsoft take a loss on every console they sell, and then they make up for it in games. Whereas Nintendo always turns a profit with their consoles, with the exception of the Wii U, and for all Nintendo needs to turn a profit on the Wii U is you need to buy just one game for the Wii U, and now it goes into, and Nintendo turns a profit.
Well, not to play the race card here, but, I know that Sony is also Japanese, but Nintendo, proof of Asian technology at its best.
And, well, that might be the Nintendo fanboy in you screaming, but be that as...
Nintendo's always been one that puts out a generally pretty affordable content.
Yes, historically, yes. So, the thing for Sony and Microsoft is that they cram so much into their consoles. They put in Blu-ray players, computer PC components, media player, internet capability, all these bells and whistles. The only thing it doesn't do yet is cook for you and blow you. And Sony and Microsoft have to... There's a problem. They have to try to find the balance of, okay, how much can we take a hit versus how much can we reasonably expect people to pay? Whereas Nintendo doesn't bother with all the bells and whistles. Nintendo doesn't bother with adding half 500 gig or 1 terabyte hard drives to their consoles. They don't bother with Blu-ray players or DVD players or any of that. They don't bother with the bells and whistles. Their main focus is to make a system that plays games. So they don't need to take the hit. And
Nintendo's always been one to march to the beat of its own drum, and by and large, they've done pretty well by that, just because of they focus on making the game console be a game console, nothing else.
Right? Okay.
Take a look at Nintendo's. Take a look at the Nintendo Wii Sports that you got there. Those are like some of the best-selling games that the Nintendo Wii has.
Not to mention the fact that it came bundled with the system.
Yeah, some of them are
exactly
bundled, but it's also the fact that the point of the Nintendo, by and large, is not to make a system that can do everything or have it be something that you can play with friends online across halfway around the world. Their job is to make a console game that plays video games.
Funny that.
A video game console that plays video games? Such a revolutionary idea!
Oh my god!
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, I feel like Sony and Microsoft can maybe take a page out of that book and be like, sure, having some additional features are nice. For example, Xbox Live, audio capabilities to talk with your friends.
Do you get the sense that they're trying too hard?
Yes.
Well, here's the other thing too, is that if you think about it, granted, I'm not very familiar with the Wii or the Wii U, but Microsoft and Sony, to make their dollars, they've been going out to third-party resources, and so that's why you have all these big games like God of War. That's the first one that's jumping into my mind, but Devil May Cry, all these other third-party stuff. Nintendo, on the other hand, to the best of my knowledge, has always relied on its core of Mario, Legend of Zelda, Super Smash Bros. To sell its consoles, and it works.
It does work. I mean, yes, of the three, Nintendo has by far the biggest number of first-party exclusive titles.
That's mainly just due to the fact that Nintendo has probably some of the more important or iconic or revolutionary game developers for the time. Mario, Link, Samus, Super Smash Brothers, like
they all sprang forth from the god of Miyamoto. We know this.
Yeah, they all spring forth from Miyamoto's loin.
And
not to mention the fact too that, at least looking back in retrospect, the most genius move that was done, at least in respect to Legend of Zelda and Link, is that they've created these parallel timelines. So you've got yourself an open world you can do whatever the hell you want with it and keep pumping out games for that particular series. With Mario, it's always been an open world. The concept's been the same, and that's one of those rare cases of if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Be also a point I think we're all neglecting to mention is that Sony and Microsoft have other business ventures outside of video games.
Yeah.
Whereas
Nintendo is nothing but is a video game provider. Microsoft is a mainly PC developer. They only got into video games to make a quick buck. Sony is a applications provider. They provide you TVs, they provide you computers, they provide you dishwashers, and things like that. They got into the gaming market just as a side project, and they just happened to have it take off wildly.
Yes, and so Nintendo doesn't care or really have the desire to load a console with as much technology as Sony and Microsoft do. I mean, they're not out to make PCs, they're not out to make Blu-ray players, they're out to make consoles, and therefore they don't need to make a console that does everything you ask it to, so they can afford to make a cheaper console.
I mean, I think that the solution, at least in theory for Sony, would be, start out with something that just does video games, and then maybe for $20 or so per purchase, then you can add on all the extra bells and whistles to it.
Well, Sony did make a video game console that just played video games. It was called the PS1.
Yeah, I was just going to say the PlayStation 1. Maybe the PlayStation 2 to a certain extent.
The PlayStation 1 could do CDs as well, but that was it.
Yeah, who used their PS1 as a CD player?
I don't know. But, the PS1 and the PS2, by and large, were mostly just video game consoles, and by and large, those are most of the ones that people remember saying that those are the good consoles that Sony made.
Also keep in mind that Sony is a pioneer of blank media. They're the ones that pushed the DVD, the Blu-ray. So
yeah, they pushed the DVD. They pushed the Blu-ray. Hell, they were one of the ones pushing HD TVs and USB sticks at the time.
So of course their consoles are going to try to integrate all of that. Same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft's in the business of making computers and operating systems. So naturally, they're going to make their consoles try, at the very least, to be able to function within their larger business ventures. I'm sure that the next console from Microsoft is going to figure out some way to have integration with Windows 8. That's a different rant. Okay, we're not talking Windows.
Yeah. I mean, I think having integration with your home console is a fine idea. Like say for example, on the new consoles that your hard drive is starting to get full on the console. Well, port your save data over to your hard drive on your computer, or put it onto a flash drive or something like that. That's fine.
I'm curious. How does the Wii U and Wii, how do they actually save? Because I know for the PS3 and 360, it's saved directly to the hard drive, which is why they're so big. But how does Nintendo work?
They have an internal memory on the Wii U initially. I think it's 8
gig. It's 8 gig on the basic Wii U. On the deluxe Wii U, it's 32.
Yeah, but it is an SD drive, isn't it? So that you can upgrade it more if need be.
You can use flash drives, although Nintendo doesn't recommend that. But the Wii U comes with USB slots, and they encourage that you can use portable hard drives. It is flash memory for
Okay, so it's like flash memory, so for both versions, but they have the option of backing up your save or backing up your loaded game data onto a flash drive or an external hard drive.
Yes.
Okay, I mean that's been my biggest problem with the PS3 of all things, is the fact that it did away with memory cards, and memory cards were like this, like, ooh, memory card, this holds the awesome power, and now it's the case of
that's just a sign of the times, though. I mean, that's just the natural progression. I mean, you had battery-backed memory and cartridges, and then you went to memory cards, and now everything's done right on the console, which is fine.
Right, but the thing about the memory card was that at least you could take that memory card, and if someone had a copy of the same game, you could take your memory card and plug it right into their system, and not have to worry about you having your own copy of the thing.
Agreed, although that problem is being solved with the advent of the cloud.
Oh, where you load your stuff up online and then you download it at another console or something?
Yeah, the advent of the cloud has sort of basically become the new memory card. Instead of it requiring a physical device, you just need to require an internet connection.
Right, okay, which pretty much everybody well, not everybody has an internet connection, but for the majority of gamers...
Most people in the first world who have consoles will have an internet connection.
Right. I mean, the most I know about the cloud is like with all the Apple stuff, and they're at Apple Cloud thingamabob. I didn't realize that by this point the consoles had it by this point.
So 360 certainly does. I'm not sure about the PlayStation Network.
I think PSN does have the cloud on it. I know, like, with some stuff from my PS2, you can use the cloud on it. Heck, I have it on my laptop, but...
Yeah, I mean, well...
There you are, Ryan. I was waiting for you to say something.
I'm pretty sure the PS3 has the cloud, too, just because of crossplay.
Oh, yes, and with the Vita, the whole transferring thing.
Alright, it started out with the PSP, now for the Vita.
What is with the Vita anyways? I'm not really sure on what the PS Vita really is, as is. It's just like
the upgraded version of the PSP, essentially. With more bells and whistles and the hardware stuff.
People are still trying to figure out what the hell the PS Vita is.
Yes! Because Sony tried to invent a new form of media disc, the Universal Media Disc, and no. Not happening. So now we've discussed the fact that, the speculation of a $400 price point for not for the Wii U, for the PS whatever and the Xbox whatever. So we'll see. We shall see. I mean, again, I can't see the new consoles being priced too much higher than that. I mean, look at the economy, for Christ's sake. I don't see that happening. So now we're going to shift gears to the Wii U, which is the only major console that has come out to signify the 8th generation. Nintendo has launched the opening move, and it's been out since November of 2012. The first run of the Wii U for the United States, when it counted, Nintendo only made 400,000 units for the United States for launch, and they all sold out. Nintendo has sold over a million Wii U's in the States thus far. I don't know how that compared to the Wii's first few months, but so far sales have been pretty good. I mean, I'm not hearing a whole lot of stuff going on in terms of games or anything like that. I haven't heard any blockbuster titles.
Right, I think everyone's still trying to figure out what the hell does the Wii U do.
Yeah, I think most of the initial purchases are, I would say a good 25 or 30% are Nintendo fanboys, so let's say 300,000 roughly. And the remaining rest of that is people buying into it with the expectation of there being a new game coming out within the first 3 to 6 months. I mean, to be fair, the new Super Mario Bros. 2 either was a launch title or was released within a week or two of the console being launched.
Well, the original Wii, didn't they have Twilight Princess backing it up, or Skyward Sword?
For the original Wii, the main thing around that time for the original Wii launch in the States was Metroid Prime 3 and then you had Twilight Princess as a holiday title for both the GameCube and the Wii.
Right. I remember seeing a copy of Twilight Princess for the GameCube. I'm going, wait, what? I thought this was for the Wii only. And then I was told, oh no, you're thinking of Skyward Sword probably.
Yeah.
Which is, so again, we would need like something from the original Nintendo core, like Mario, Metroid, Legend of Zelda with Link. That is probably what's gonna give the Wii U its ultimate push.
Yeah, and I think that's what most of the rest of the sales were, is like people buying it because they wanted to play the brand new Super Mario game. I mean, keep in mind too that the Mario game, if you already had a Wii, you can just use your Wii remotes to play it with your friends.
Right.
So it may be something like you buy the console for yourself, but your friends pitch in $20 or $30 and bring along their Wii remotes, or use your Wii remotes, and then you guys start playing through new Super Mario, the new Mario game. So
now, I'm gonna assume that one of you guys, I know my brother doesn't, but one of you guys at least has the Wii, right?
I have the Wii, yeah.
Yeah, because one thing that confused the hell out of me is, again, I don't own a Wii, every time I look at one, I still go, how the fuck does this work? Because I grew up on, it takes two hands for a controller. So how exactly does that work on the Wii with its joystick and supposed one hand? Is it the same setup, or how do they change that?
The joystick is an attachment to the Wiimote.
Yeah, the joystick is an attachment. It's that little, they call it the nunchuck. It's basically something that like fits in the palm of your hand, and you use that to move around.
Yeah.
Or if you're using it for a classic style game, i.e. Mario or a game on the NES, you can just hold the Wii remote sideways and use
like an NES controller.
Yeah. And you use the D-pad for moving around, and then you use the 1 and 2 button for A and B, respectively.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also, I mean, if you're using the motion functionality of the Wii, the system's got a sensor bar, and it picks up the remote.
Yeah, the remote is a Bluetooth remote, but in terms of sensor movement, in the front of the remote is a IR sensor, and it shoots out IR at the sensor bar to detect when it moves up and down.
So that's basically how that works. I mean, yes, I think you're right, Ron, that most of at the very least, the purchases for the Wii U have been the hardcore Nintendo fanboys, the ones who do not want anything to do with Sony and Microsoft. Also, I think probably some of those purchases have been some of the casual fan base that helped really explode the Wii.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind too, like a fair bit of the stuff that's used in the Wii can also be used on the Wii U, so you don't really have to invest as much into the peripherals as you might have to with a PS4 or a 720.
I mean, keep in mind, I mean, the Wii U is pretty much fully compatible with not just Wii games, pretty much backwards compatible with most, if not all, of the Wii's library. And you can use almost all, if not all, of the Wii's peripherals.
Yeah, you can use the Wii remote, you can use the nunchuck, you can use the classic controller. I'm pretty sure you can use the steering wheel and the Wii gun as well.
Yeah. So
next release for the Wii U, Mario Kart Racing. As everybody kills himself.
Mario Kart 10, then, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be Mario Kart.
Of course, though, with the Wii U, because everybody's still got the Wii and stuff, I would still think that a lot of people will wait for the price to drop on the Wii U because, like,
as you mentioned, the current prices, the current buyers are all the hardcore Nintendo fanboys. The ones that jump as soon as you say we have a new console coming out for X amount of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I think once the Wii U's library gets bigger, assuming that it has some more games to do with like the hardcore gaming fan base, they'll be the ones that can pick up the Wii U then, and then it'll be a pretty easy purchase for them to buy the Wii U and then buy 2 or 3 games with it. Because
I think that another style of game that would help the Wii U. I'm not sure how well it helped the Wii, but at least the idea behind the game sounded awesome. Is that because for the Wii we had Epic Mickey, and I understand that was a relatively good game. So and then the Epic Mickey 2, of course, was for the Wii. So if the Wii U got like maybe, heaven forbid, an Epic Mickey 3 or something along those lines, that might also help push sales. I can't talk anymore.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, another thing too that they mentioned, this was back when they were first doing the press release and go-arounds of the Wii U, was that they were eventually going to try and put out a Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U, and it could also cross-play with the 3DS.
That can be interesting.
I mean,
at that point, all it is just an announcement, nothing more.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. That they announced the another Super Smash Bros. And that it was going to be for both the Wii U and 3DS.
So I mean, also the fact that I think we need some help with the third. I think one of the true tests of the Wii's viability is how well it can handle third parties, because third-party developers pretty much abandoned the Wii. They left in droves, and
I mean, like the first year or two they tried, but it just got to the point where like we cannot develop games for this because it's not selling. It's not financially feasible for us to spend millions of dollars trying to get a motion controller to work for this game.
Which led to the very popular but also very true perception that the only people that could make a good Wii game outside of Nintendo was Nintendo. So, but looking at
what about Sega?
The only people who could make a good Wii game outside of Nintendo was Nintendo. Looking at my own Wii library, almost every single game I have for the Wii are Nintendo exclusives. I have very few third-party games for the system.
The only third-party games I have for my Wii are Tatsunoko vs. Capcom and Monster Hunter Tri.
And Xenoblade.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think the third parties need to come back, and I think that with the Wii U trying to go a little bit more back to the classic sit-down style of gaming, I think you're going to have that. I mean, there's some games coming up on the horizon, like Injustice.
Yeah.
We've already seen... Let's see, there's the Wii Fit U, there's Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, that's interesting.
One of the unique benefits, I think, actually, with the Wii U is the tablet controller, because it is the classic controller, but it has a screen on it. So you have the unique option. They demoed this for Zelda, is that you have the inventory be represented on the map, or on the tablet. So you have the unique options, too, of, like, side games, or, like, mini games that are in the game itself can be used on the tablet. Like, imagine trying to use Oblivion's hacking, like, little lock-picking tools on the tablet instead of it being blown up onto the screen for you.
So, and also the fact that one of the things that appeals to me is the fact that you don't need the TV on.
Yeah,
you can play the game, right from.
So does that mean that the Wii U would sort of be like a bridge between regular consoles and handhelds?
If you wanted it to be like that, I mean, that functionality, I think, was more geared toward families in which, there's only like maybe one or two TVs in the house, and somebody wants to watch something on TV, but somebody's using the TV to play the game. Well, you don't have that problem anymore. You could just use,
Which I will admit, that's probably the most interesting sounding concept to me personally.
So that you have some uniqueness there. Also, I have to wonder how many people are using their Wii U's to play Assassin's Creed 3. I have to wonder.
That would be interesting.
I would imagine it's a non-zero amount. I would suspect it's probably maybe.
Give us an over under number.
Over under 25,000.
Or playing Mass Effect 3 on their Wii U's.
And I'm over under 10,000 on that. But, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a number there, but I don't think the number is significant enough to be noteworthy.
But, I mean, Nintendo is also, they are trying to go the route of being able to use your consoles for more than just gaming. One of the things that I've heard much about is the much vaunted Nintendo TV, and because it's because of their spelling, it's TVII.
Yep.
Or for those who keeping track with Roman numerals, it would be Nintendo T7. But Nintendo TV is a free television-based service which allows users to find programs on Hulu Plus, Amazon Instant Video, which is great if you have Amazon Prime. Users can also use the tablet controller to get information on the show they're watching.
Okay.
The information is received from Wikipedia, IMDb, as well as individual source services. The information provided on the controller for each show can include reviews, screenshots, player positions updated in real time, as like if you were watching a sports broadcast, cast list, trailers, and general information.
So it sounds like it's almost like a Netflix, maybe, or something.
Yes, but you can also watch cable on it as well.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. If they try and pull a cable on, won't they have to also go through like the different cable companies for that too, and won't that jack the price up for it, or will that all be like an inclusive thing?
Well, let's find out. Let's see. I'm looking at the video content that's available on the Nintendo TV. Hulu Plus, that's a subscription.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
No.
Amazon Instant Video.
I've heard that's pretty good, but I don't know. I don't have that.
TiVo is a purchase. Netflix is subscription. Which you can download onto the Wii U. Hulu Plus and Amazon Instant Video are integrated with Nintendo TV, as is TiVo. Then there's the downloadable apps for Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon Instant Video, Love Film, which is Europe only, YouTube, that's free, something called Nintendo Video, the cable channel of Eurosport, that's Europe only.
Okay, so that might be the cable thing that you were talking about, watching TV.
Yes, that's only available in Europe. And only on the 3DS. That's interesting.
That's
okay.
Something called... And then Nintendo is trying to produce its own programming called Nintendo Show 3D, Nintendo TV, both on the 3DS, and Nintendo Direct Conference Videos, which will be available for both Wii U and 3DS. So, they're trying to dabble a little bit in the cable and... trying to tap into that Netflix market, which, yes, I do use Netflix on my Wii on occasion. When I usually watch Netflix, depending on what console's hooked up at the time, I have Netflix on all three consoles. I primarily use my my PlayStation 3 and my 360 for MLB TV, baseball fan that I am. But, the Wii is 3 months old, so a lot of the stuff is still in development or still brand new. That's one of the criticisms of it, is that Nintendo announced all these things, and then went, they're not going to be available when this
Oh, wait, they're pulling a Sony?
Oh, jeez.
Well, unlike Sony, which promised everything and then delivered nothing, Nintendo is actually saying... We're promising you these things, and we're going to get to them eventually.
Okay, so they threw in a little extra clause there saying, they're coming, we just don't know when.
We are developing these things. We're sorry we couldn't have them ready at the console launch, but we wanted to get the console out the door.
Wow. Okay, so they're almost going borderline Sony. The only difference is Nintendo's already has at least thrown in the part that we want to get them on. They will be on. They're just not on yet, but they will be on. Instead of Sony saying they will be there, and then they weren't.
Another plus is that any virtual console purchases that you did transfer over.
Ooh, nice.
Which is good.
Nice.
The one problem still remains, though, is that if you lose or break the console, you're fucked.
Oh no!
As opposed to the current PS3 and the 360, whereas if your console breaks, gets stolen, you buy a new one. Yeah. All you have to do is just log in with your.
You gotta tie it. It's tied to your account, not to the system.
Yeah, it's tied to your account, not the system. Nintendo still hasn't. Nintendo, I think, is still trying to figure out what the hell an online network is.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
It sounds like Nintendo is starting to realize. Wait a second. Sony and Microsoft have been insanely successful because they had all these extra bells. I mean, granted, they weren't as successful as Nintendo was saying. Nintendo got a profit, whereas Sony and Microsoft didn't. But I guess Nintendo's starting to see that, oh wait, Sony and Microsoft have all these bells and whistles that a lot of people are liking. Maybe we should try this too.
I give the analogy that Nintendo dabbling in at what is online capability, they're kind of like a toddler.
Oh God,
they're slowly stepping forward, peeing themselves as they go along.
More or less, they're still trying to figure out what an online network is, I think. Because, let's face it, we can be big Nintendo fanboys all we want. PSN and Xbox Live pretty much have a good handle on the online thing.
It would be funny. It would be funny as hell if they actually tried to take ideas off. I mean, the PSN or Xbox Live and try to incorporate them somehow.
I don't know. What I think Nintendo should do actually is call Steam and be like, "Hey, what's this online network thing? We heard you guys are pretty good at it. You want to help us out?"
Well, I mean,
if the Wii U were to partner with Steam, I think that sales would take off like no tomorrow because Steam is like the most popular online buying thing for games.
And I have somehow avoided it.
Well, I mean, okay.
I'm not a PC gamer.
That's not going to happen just because apparently Steam is now getting into the console market. But that's another episode for another time.
But whatever, Nintendo is still taking its tentative baby steps into the online world, so basically, to draw this to a close, let's get a thought from everybody. How do you think the Wii U is faring overall 3 months in? And Ron, being the veteran here of downloadable content, I'll start with you.
In terms of sales, based on what you've told me, I think they're doing fine. In terms of future health, they need third-party support stat. They need to start releasing like more Marios and another Zelda, or at least not even releasing, just announcing like, "Hey, Zelda, November 2013, be there."
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that. I mean, we need the third-party, cross-platform games, and good ones, not shovel crapware. And also, I think Nintendo needs to start cracking the whip on some of their flagships here.
I really think that if we could get a Metroid within 2013 that goes back to the Metroid Prime style, or even like Super Metroid or something like that, in terms of the exploration and the sense of like slight horror almost, like with like the idea of like you're a lone person on this dangerous and deadly planet that's got like creepy crawlies and shit going all over the place, and oh, by the way, there's these alien things that suck the life force out of you that are flying around too. Like, I think that would be a pretty good game that you could pull off.
Let me add a further addition to that. Agree with everything you've said there, but come on, guys, let's face it. I want to see a Zelda in HD.
That would be cool.
Come on.
Yes, agreed.
The Wii U now has the hardware capability to pull off, can you imagine a Legend of Zelda game that has the graphical prettiness of Final Fantasy 13, but retains all of the gameplay that we've come to expect?
I think every fanboy would orgasm.
I'd buy it.
Yeah, let's think of it like this. If you can create a story, a game, a gameplay, and graphics of the Ocarina of Time in HD,
I'd buy the system for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure any person...
Yeah, that would give the Wii U the boost it needs.
Yeah, that would be... I'm pretty sure anyone that calls themselves a video gamer will throw $400 some odd at that.
If Nintendo made a Zelda game in full HD with the gameplay that we've come to expect from Zelda in recent generations, I would go right down to GameStop right now and be like, take all my money.
Right, exactly.
Take all my money.
Throwing my money at my TV and my computer screen, nothing's happening.
Yeah, take all my money, and let's
to quote Futurama here, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I mean, and the same thing, give the same treatment to some of the other flagship franchises. For example, what's Star Fox been doing? We haven't heard a peep in a while.
Well, to be fair, Star Fox has done some stuff, but it's not the Star Fox that everybody fell in love with.
Very true. But, I mean, there's also other flagships. Metroid, F-Zero.
Yeah, there's F-Zero. Imagine you could do a Star Fox with a customizable spaceship as you fly around the systems in the and maybe even go in the galaxies in the Star Fox universe as you explore new threats.
So basically Mass Effect, but with Star Fox.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
that might work.
Maybe it's a shitty ass ending, but that's besides the point.
Well, all right. So we've ranted. Okay, Andy and Ryan, your thoughts?
Well, again, I don't know too much about the Wii or the Wii U, but I'm gonna have to agree with what Ron said. It's got a good, solid start, but it's unless it gets the third parties in pronto with some games or something. It's not going to have much of a future. It's got a good start, but as for a future, it needs the third parties.
Yeah, because I mean, look at how well, like I know that Microsoft and PSN do very well. I think if they could somehow get in a few of the other kind of franchises, because I know everybody says that we're killing that Final Fantasy is going on way too damn long, but like you said, if they could get something that has awesome graphics like Final Fantasy in there, get in a damn good storyline. I don't know too many games nowadays that do have that, and also somehow get in extra features too that you could use that maybe go in depth with some other parts of different stories. That would be interesting if they could pull that off with some of the games. Just
to imagine more immersion in the game. You want to have do you want to have the player basting in your game and they're glazing over for a turkey or a ham?
That would be interesting to add in.
The man, I just had this thought across my mind. What if you had LucasArts, now that they've partnered with Disney, what if you had LucasArts put a Star Wars game, mind you, a good Star Wars game, on the
Emphasis
Wii
on
U?
the good.
Yeah, on the Wii U. It doesn't even have to be a current, the Star Wars that we know. It could be Star Wars: The Clone Wars, or it could be something like Star Wars.
Dear Christ, not the Clone Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars: The Old Republic, or
right, Knights of the Old Republic, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or even something like Star Wars: What Happened in Between Episode 6 and the movie tie-in for Episode 7.
The one thing that I'd honestly like to see, and this is me going back to me being a Pokemon fanboy, is that with the X and Y coming out, what I'd love to see with the Pokemon game is not just the contest in the battles, but everyday life with Pokemon, how that would be in just friendly battles, not having to do well, I guess that's where the trainer battles come in, but being able to do other stuff besides just the battles and the contest, if you could do other things in it.
So basically, you want to see a Pokemon console version.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you want to see half of Nintendo's boardrooms heads explode. You tell me you saw today's control with the Wii.
That would be fun. Yeah, I would love to see that.
I'm sure all the Pokemon fanboys out there would love to see Pokemon make the leap from the handheld to the console. But
well, it's not that they've had console versions before, but it's just like Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Stadium. I think
those aren't Pokemon games.
Yeah, they want to see Pokemon X and Y on the Wii U. They want to see the option of trading with people on the console. They want to have the option of doing battles with people across the world through a console.
Yeah, not just keep the graphics on the handheld, add that to the console when you're just playing in general. That's what I'd honestly like to see for it.
What I want to see, because I'm a sadistic bastard like this, is put in a racing game where everyone starts out friendly and then they want to kill each other by the end.
So split second then.
Yeah. So split second or a racing version of Mario Kart.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or just Mario Kart.
I already thought when you start playing Mario Kart, you start friendly and hate each other. I mean, I thought that was what Mario Kart Wii was all about.
Blue shell.
Where as soon as you enter first place, blue shell, blue shell, blue shell, blue shell, lightning, 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 blue shell, blue shell, blue shell, blue shell, red shell, banana peel. So, you know,
or something like Mario Party.
Have more. Basically,
Always the banana peel.
Have more mini game. Have a lot of mini games and just like another part in general besides the actual storyline and stuff. Have that with Pokemon and add that to the Wii U. That's what I'd like to see.
Pokemon World, we can go and explore all the.
I'd love that.
So Nintendo, I hope you're listening, but you have four Nintendo fanboys here who want to throw their money at you. Do something. Get Miyamoto out of cryogenic stasis and make him work.
Or figure out a way to plug his brain into a computer.
So
yes.
So that is our cries for Nintendo. Now, going all the way back, I'm just gonna put a bow on the PS whatever and the Xbox whatever discussion. So for all of our rumors and speculation, really all we have is just a pile of nothing. We have all of these rumors and they all amount to zero. We're not going to know anything until they announce it, whether it's going to be either before E3, at E3, or after. We've got nothing, guys. All we have are wild rumors and speculation, and basically that's all you've got. So keep speculating, keep thinking. It's probably going to be nothing whatsoever related to whatever rumor. It's what you find with anything, really, in the video game world. Every rumor either turns out to be not true, completely inaccurate, and you come across the 1% that's actually true. So, we'll see. I just hope it doesn't have any stupid fancy code names or anything like that. I just hope... nothing like that, so... Alrighty! Now that we've beaten this subject to death, if you would like to voice your thoughts on this episode or any other episode, or want to be in a future episode of Downloadable Content, you can let us know at facebook.com/downloadablecontent or on Twitter @DLContent. So, it remains for me to thank Ron, Andy, and Ryan for being on this episode. And this is Brian saying, have a good one, everyone.